Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to analyze my last few rapid games on Lichess. As always, the main goal is to learn something from them. I mean, for me to learn something from them. If you learn something from them, that's great too, but I'm here to teach me how to play chess. If you're new to my channel, I'm not a titled player or a chess coach. I'm just a random person trying to get better at chess, or at least trying not to get worse. This was the ending position of last night's game. I resigned here when I realized I was down 7 points of material and I really didn't have any hope. I'm hoping that the way that I lost here was not due to some ridiculous elementary level blunder. It looks like I actually had a lead here partway through the game, which is unusual for me. Usually my leads are in the opening and the end game. This is kind of opposite of normal. I guess let's take a look at how I lost my lead. It looks like a series of inaccuracies rather than mistakes or blunders. Here, according to the engine's evaluation, I was up around -2. I'm not entirely sure why. Some of the ways that I try to evaluate the position without the engine, say if we turn this off, are space, which my opponent looks like they have more space. They're controlling more squares on my side of the board than I am. They're pointed at more things. They have more advanced pawns. They're castled. All their pieces except the queen are developed, which is the same as me. And I only have one pawn close enough to control any squares on their side. My knights over here are kind of misplaced because I ended up having to get it in the wrong place. So I'm not sure why I'm ahead here. And what I played was d6, so that wasn't it. Let's see, what should I have played? I think the reason that I played d6 was because I thought they might be about to push this pawn. And they would have a knight, anchoring that pawn in there, and it would be kind of controlling even more squares on my side. So I thought if I played here and they pushed, I could take it, which would help them get rid of a doubled pawn and give me some doubled pawns. But maybe I think that's why I played that. But what should I have played instead? Let's see. My opponent has undefended pieces. They have an undefended knight and an undefended pawn. I guess I could have put my bishop over here on c5, aiming at that pawn, but not here. Not aiming at the knight, because if I did that, they would just push this pawn. Oh no, then I would have two pieces aimed at it. Maybe that's what I should have played, because it pins the knight to the rook, and if they had pushed that pawn, I could just take it. Let's see, if I played that, wouldn't they just defend the knight? How could they defend the knight? Let's see, I guess they could just move their queen up one and defend the knight. So I don't know what that would have accomplished. Maybe it's this then, bishop to c5 or queen to b6. Either one aims at that pawn. Maybe the queen first, and then if they moved to protect the pawn, then I could put the bishop there. Oh, but then they could protect the pawn again with the knight. Okay, well that's all I'm seeing is that they do have two undefended pieces there that I can attack right now. Okay, let's see what the engine says. The engine says bishop to f6 or queen to b6. Okay, I should have been looking for undefended pieces on my opponent's side of the board. That would have kept me in the lead. But it says if I had played bishop to f6, they would have played knight to d4. That's not d4, sorry. This knight to d4. Okay, I didn't even think of that, but that definitely would have blocked my path across there. And then I would have played rook to c8, which also aims at the undefended knight. And they would defend it by moving the queen over. And then I would play bishop to h4, just down here. It aims at the queen, protected by my queen. And then they would move the queen up here, which is where I thought they would have put it in the first place. I would come back to g5. Okay, it looks like they can defend the pieces that I would have been aiming at, so I don't know why I'm ahead 1.8. But this took me down to -1.5. My opponent played their best move here, which was to get that knight out of danger, and I played e5 here, which was another inaccuracy, but I think the point is obvious. That keeps them from pushing their pawn forward. But I forgot to turn off the lines. It does say I should have played knight to e5 instead, and they would have taken it, and I would have taken it. So we would have had 4 pawns stacked up here, and I still would have been ahead -1. I don't know why. And I also don't know why this was bad. Why is this bad? It's because they can play king to h1. Okay, well, that would have been weird if they had played that, but they didn't. They played knight to g3, okay, which protects that pawn, I guess. Oh, it also aims in here. Maybe that's why the e-pawn was bad, because the e-pawn was guarding the f5 square. I don't know, but if they had played king to h1, it would have been almost even. And I guess it's because that pawn's still undefended and I can still attack it with the queen, but they could, oh, okay, maybe that's why I played e5, is to keep either one of their knights from going there. But that's not one of their best moves. We're almost back to -1 if I'll play queen to b6 now. Okay, I guess I was just not seeing that that pawn was undefended. Because that's what, 3 times that I've missed that. Or d5, which they would have just taken and I would have taken. But that would have helped them, wouldn't it? Undoubled their pawns. But I played rook to e8. Almost any time I put my rooks in places I think they're useful, it's not the place I should have put them. I think the reason that I put the rook here is because I wanted to bring the knight back so I could play the f-pawn, but playing the f-pawn probably would have been a mistake. All right, well, that's how I lost my lead. Those 3 turns in a row, 1, 2, 3, because I was up, almost -2 here. It says -2, but it turned out to be -1.8. But 3 turns in a row, I made inaccuracies, and those 3 inaccuracies put us back to even. We stayed around even for a little while until I made a mistake down here. My first mistake of the game as far as I know. We're dead even. What I played here was queen to f6. Well, because it looks like they're threatening checkmate. As you can see, I did end up putting that knight back there, but I never got a chance to move the f-pawn. Now moving the f-pawn doesn't make any sense because, like I said, they're threatening checkmate. So I'm pretty sure I considered g6 here, but I thought, oh, they'll just check me. And that's my best move. Okay, and then I would have moved up and I would have been fine. Well, I thought that I wouldn't be fine if they did that and I had to move up, but I guess it's okay because, no, they could have just gone back. The g-pawn is pinned. It says they would have gone back. If I had played g6, they would have checked me. I would have moved up because otherwise they would have forked me over here by taking my f7 pawn. So they would have gone back. I can't take them because my pawn is pinned, and it doesn't say what would happen after that. Okay, well, let's say I did this and see if it'll tell me. They'll check me here and I'll move up. And they'll go back. It's the only move for them. Again, cannot take. So I have to go back now to g8 or h8, either one. Well, let's say I went back to here so that their knight's in trouble, but now their knight can just go in here again. Okay, so we would have repeated. What if I didn't want to repeat and I came back? They would have checked me again. Okay, well, what if this, and I still can't go over here because of that. Okay, so that's why that's a draw, is because we just repeat. Wow. Okay, well, what if after their first check and I first moved up and they went here and I came back, what if they didn't go back in there? I assume they would want to because they're coming after this, but what if they had just moved it out of the way so it's not in danger anymore? Then I just would have moved my queen a little bit or played knight to e6 and I would have been fine. Well, the problem with this, which I didn't see at the time, is that their rook is pointed at it, so now they can do whatever they want with their knight and my queen is in danger. But they're not going to do that now. I'm stopping them from checkmating. They don't have... Honestly, I don't know why they didn't do that now. Why didn't they just move the knight? It's not one of their best moves, but I think that's what I would have played. Let's see, what would have happened if they'd put that over there? I would just have to go back. What if I just moved over one? Would that have been bad? It says that would have kept us even as well. They would not have traded queens. They just would have put the knight back here, and then I should have played g6, but not this again. Well, but the problem with me playing this is not that. The problem is that they can play c4. I mean, I probably would have taken it. It says no. It says I would not have taken it, but I probably would have. But my opponent did not find that. Maybe they didn't want their bishop trapped behind, a bunch of pawns. But a4 is their next best move, and that's what they played. I guess they realized that it was important to come after my b pawn one way or another. And to keep it under +1, I had to play bishop to c6. I don't know what the problem with just taking this pawn is, but that's my second best move, and it's what I played, but it's another inaccuracy. And now we're over +1 if they'll take it with their rook. My opponent didn't know that, and they took with the pawn, which was inaccurate on their part, and we're back close to even now, but only if I will go over here and protect this pawn, or protect this pawn. Well, I looked at that quite a while and can't quite figure out why both of those are better than what I played. What I realized finally was that this rook is pointed at my queen, and I thought I need to move the queen out of the way. And I also thought their queen's pointed right at my king. What if I just traded him off right now? I thought that would be good. I could take with the pawn or I could take with the knight. Either way would be okay. But that's a blunder if they take it. Oh, wow. That's what I wanted them to do, was take it. But my opponent didn't want to take it, and they ran away. For a second, it said 0.8, but now it's 0.2, which is just nearly even, but only if I'll go back to e6, not go back, go to a new square, which, what is special about e6? Not sure. Oh, I know what's special about e6. Oh my goodness. No, they can't. My rook's protecting that square. Oh, no, okay. I did make an elementary blunder here. This, it's not technically elementary by my definitions. This is an intermediate blunder because my rook's not protecting there once I move it. Oh my, that's what I played. Why did I play that? Did I play this quickly? No, I spent 27 seconds on that. That's not that quick in a 10-minute game. I see that now. Definitely this is, I basically gave them the game by playing that. Anyone who's got a knight this far forward is constantly looking at places where the knight can go on my side and what it can do. And it's also, they're also checking places they can't go because obviously my pawn's defending that. They can't go there because their own pawn's in the way. But they do have a bunch of good squares where they can put that knight. And this one down here is probably their prime one. And I moved the rook that was defending that square. Okay, queen to e6 makes a lot more sense now. I definitely should have played queen to e6. Okay, I understand this one. I wasn't sure which one to look at. That's the thing. When I start these, I wish I had just gone right to this point, but it looked like I was already behind there, so I started with the place where I lost the lead. But this is what lost me the game by not playing right here. I also could have played rook to d8 and I would have been a little bit okay. But because I played here and my opponent was really looking at e7, they played that in 3 seconds. Yeah, that's what I suspected. They were waiting for that square to become undefended. Got it. There are probably multiple lessons I can learn from this. One has got to be, I've got to start looking better or more at what my opponent is looking at. And yes, that's harder in a 10-minute game, and that's one reason people recommend longer games, because you have time to guess what is my opponent looking at. But this one probably should have been more obvious because, yeah, they were just waiting on that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next game. This was the previous night's game. I won very quickly. I had only spent a minute and a half here while my opponent has spent nearly 6 minutes of their time. They moved out of check and then resigned. Did you see that? When I drew that, the search box popped up. I think I've complained about that before, but I don't want this. How do you get rid of the search box? Okay, yeah, I don't want the search box to ever pop open. There's no point in it. Okay, it didn't do it that time or that time. Okay, I don't know what the difference was, but the search box keeps putting the cursor up there for some reason. Anyway, my opponent resigned after they got out of check here. I guess they realized that, they were going to have trouble. I have a passed pawn that's very close to promotion. I have, a lot more pieces than they do. But I did have 2 blunders. Hopefully we can learn from them. It says that my blunders were both in the opening, which again is unusual for me. Well, let's take a look. Right here, I played A3. That's a blunder. And that's probably, in this case, because I had something better. And it frustrates me that it's listed over there in the move list. Let's see. Can I press the Z key to get rid of that? Okay, it's not there anymore. I didn't see it, but I almost did because it's right there. Anyway, I played A3 to get rid of this bishop, but I should have played something else. Should I have gotten the knight out and prepared to castle? No, maybe? Wait, their knight can't come in here, can it? No. Probably not to f3 because the pawn can just push and then I have to move my knight again. So probably to e2, which is what I normally do in this opening. Or, should I have just played e4? That's probably what it was. To lock in the pawn and threaten the knight at the same time. But it just would have moved. I'm not sure where, probably just back one. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm going to guess e4. It wasn't e4. I had to play queen to g4 here. All right, I probably did not consider queen to g4. Oh, by the way, it does say knight to f3 as my second best move, which I just said I wouldn't play because of that pawn. And it says that they wouldn't play that, but let's say that I had considered queen to g4. I don't think I would have played it. It's not really threatening the pawn because the knight's guarding that pawn. It's threatening the knight, but they can defend that by, 2 pieces. Oh, okay. I get it. Sorry, it took me a second to see this one. I saw these 2 immediately, but the knight's guarding the pawn, and I thought they could just guard the knight by this. The bishop would guard the knight if they played e6, but yeah, okay. I missed a full piece. I think chess.com probably would have called it a miss because I missed this tactical opportunity. When they hopped this knight out of here, I'm not sure why they put it in there in the first place, because back here, when I took that knight, they jumped in there, and that was a blunder. If only I played e3, which I did, and then they jumped back out. So, they shouldn't have done that. That didn't make any sense at all. But now because they're here, my queen can hit both of those squares at once. I got it. Okay, I missed that, threatened the bishop, and it ran away. Okay, so we're, very close to even here for a long time, but looks like I made another miss in this position because that was a mistake. Turn off the lines. What did I play? I took the pawn, but I'm not supposed to. Should I have just defended the pawn? I was worried it was going to come past. And then I would lose my important G pawn here that, that was my reasoning for taking. I'm pretty sure. It was 2 nights ago, but pretty sure the reason I took here was because if I didn't, I thought they were coming past. Wait, should I have played my f-pawn? I never know when to play the f-pawns. But wait, they just would have taken it. Oh, but then I could have taken with the knight or the rook. And then if they took here, I wouldn't have anything to take that one with. Yeah, I'm really not sure, but I was also probably a little worried about them being able to take this one now that that's defended, right? If I took here and I took back, doesn't look good either. I have no idea. I'm going to guess f4 as silly as that might seem. Oh, f4 would have been okay. And they would have taken it. No, it says if I had played... What just happened? Okay, sorry. That startled me. But can we back up to where I was? Why would you do that, Lichess? I don't know what happened. F4 is not my best move. D4 is my best move, believe it or not. But F4, it says they would not have taken it. They would have taken this way. So if I had played F4, it says they would have taken my e-pawn, and then I would have taken their e-pawn, and then wouldn't our rooks be facing each other at that point? But they would have to move their knight because my pawn would be threatening their knight. They wouldn't want to trade rooks just yet, so they would hop this knight out that way. And then I would take their rook with check, and I assume they would take back with one of the two pieces that could take back there. Well, if I did this, why wouldn't they take with the e-pawn? Oh, it says that they could, and I would not take back with any of the pieces that I could take back with. My only move would be e5. And this time they wouldn't move the knight. They would take my g-pawn. I wouldn't take their knight. I would take that pawn. Then they would move their knight, and then I would take this pawn. And I'm just way up, even though I'm not up on material, but I guess this is really strong here. No, they can just take that. So they're going to take that, but I'm up +2, but now I have to find d6, which they can just take. But this says that they won't, but they might. And if they did, they wouldn't take with the pawn. They would take with the bishop. It would be bad to take with the pawn because of d4, and they would move the knight. I'm still not ahead of anything, right? Now I would take their bishop, so I assume they're going to take back, and I would have to play bishop only move, bishop to d5, which is there. Okay, bishop to d5 check. So they would probably move over because they don't want to block with the queen or the rook, okay? And then I would move this bishop and I would be up +4. All right, well, I followed that for a long ways and have no idea how I would even be ahead. But d4 would have been even better because they would not have played here, which is what I was worried about. Because they would take my d-pawn. Why wouldn't they have played here? Because I would take their e-pawn and I'm up +3 and they're not going to move their knight. Wait, what? Oh, it says they'll play f3. Okay, so I have to take it, right? Wait, if I take it, don't they just get a bishop for a pawn? And how am I ahead? Sorry, it's not even their best move to take it. Let's say they took it. Then I would take their knight. They would take the pawn, and I would play knight to f4 right there. I'm way ahead. Is it because the rook is trapped? I'm threatening the rook. It can't go there. Oh, the rook is trapped. That's why they wouldn't take it. Well, that one I understand. Okay, I think. That's why they wouldn't play here, because somehow I would come out ahead on that deal. But I would have to know not only to play this, but if they did this, which isn't their best move, then I would have to know to take here and just not worry about that. That's more than intermediate. I'm going to call those advanced. The fact that I missed both f4 and d4, but especially d4, that's an advanced blunder here. Or yeah, it was a blunder. It's a blunder for me to take that. Of course, they can just take that pawn, and they did, but now I don't have to worry about that f-pawn coming down through here. That's the whole thing that I was worried about. Well, let's go to the point at which my opponent gave it to me and see how bad their blunder was. Don't ask me why I did this. I honestly can't remember now. Yes, I can. Okay. I thought they were going to take it. It's actually their best move to take it, but I thought that they would take, and I would take back with my queen, which would be pointed at that pawn, which they're currently defending, but that would mean they would have to keep a piece there defending it. It would mean that they would have to keep a piece here defending their bishop. I thought that was okay. Or even on material, this would be an even pawn exchange. But apparently if they had taken there and I took back, then they just would have run away with their bishop and everything would have been fine. And they would have been ahead. I don't know if they would have run away with their bishop or not. But yeah, that's what I was expecting to happen. What I was not expecting to happen was this, h4. And I didn't obviously know it was a blunder, but it seemed dangerous. Again, we're talking about getting rid of pawns in front of my king. However, because they have castled, they don't have a rook over here. I thought that if they took, I could take back, and I wouldn't be that worried about them coming down the h-file. So I left it sitting there for a second, and I took their c-pawn, which is my best move. And again, they're supposed to play bishop to d7, or take the c-pawn. Well, here I was kind of hoping they would take the c-pawn so I could push my d-pawn so that my bishop would be pointed at their rook. But they went ahead with their plan over here, which was to start chopping off pawns around my king. It's my best move to take back, which, I had prepared for. And again, bishop to d7. Still not sure on that. If they had played that, I definitely would have played c6, which it says I would. And then they would have to put their bishop over here on g4, and I would just have a passed pawn. But their bishop on g4 would be guarding its promotion square. I probably would have brought my rook up here and tried to take out that pawn, but they took, which is what I wanted them to do so I could push my d-pawn. It's one of my two best moves, but better would have been to play rook to e5. Wait, why e5? I would have put it on e6 to threaten the queen. And it doesn't give a line for that. It just says rook to e5. And then apparently my opponent would know how to resign after that. What? I don't get that at all. I do get the next move, d6, which is what I played. They're supposed to move that rook now. They didn't notice, I guess. So this is an elementary level mistake on their part because they were worried about the pawn and they got in front of it, which gave me the other rook. So they had to go take. I almost pushed the pawn here, but I saw this. I'm not very good at seeing queen forks as we saw in the other game, but I did see this one and the pawn as well. So I did check here. They had to move. I checked. They moved up here, and that's, you know, what you saw at the beginning. That's where they resigned. I have used all my time for today. I think I've definitely learned something from this game. This was a pretty right here. That's, yeah, it's almost elementary now that I see the bishop, but it's technically intermediate. They hung a piece, but they didn't hang a piece directly because I can't get there. They hung a piece through a simple tactic, which is okay. But I did win because of, you know, my opponent messing up the order of things there near the end. Well, for any of those moves that I said I didn't understand, or I followed the line out and didn't see where it was going, or how I could see that it was going to get there from 5 moves back, you know, feel free to help me out. I do appreciate all the supportive and helpful explanatory comments. I think they're helping me to get better. Only time will tell. And hopefully you're getting better at chess too, if that's one of your goals. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.